So hey, welcome to Saving Planet Earth 3. Now, if you haven't seen Saving Planet Earth 1 and Saving Planet Earth 2, at the end of the video, they are going to pop up over here so you can go back and recap. But what is Saving Planet Earth, this series, all about? Well, what I basically am sharing is that the human race right now is, technically speaking, driving straight, metaphorically, into a brick wall. In other words, we cannot keep living and utilising planet Earth in the way we have been doing for the last pretty much a couple of hundred years. And what this is all about is what would need to happen for us individually and thus collectively to actually turn us away from ploughing into the brick wall and it being the end of probably the human race and many other of the flora and fauna that we share this beautiful planet Earth with. So today I'm going to share something completely different, but actually it's a vital perspective that could help us turn things around and drive us away from that wall. How did we arrive in this body and how does it all work? Now, the truth is, science has never ever solved any of that. But there are a lot of people, particularly people over here in the 4%, who have a belief, and part of the reason that they're in the 4% is that they have this great belief that their spirit, their soul, came to planet Earth as part of their journey. And they came here to be guardians of planet Earth, not to be the killers of planet Earth. Now, the challenge is, as our soul comes into our body, and look, the truth is, we are a soul, let's say, with a body, not a body with a soul. Let's look at it that way around. So this soul has come here for a purpose and to be guardian of planet Earth. Now, the challenge as it sort of comes into this physical world or this physical realm, sometimes described as the third dimension. I know that's a bit out there. But as it is described as that, what happens is it sort of, as it comes down, it loses its memory. It basically forgets what its mission is, and technically speaking, it becomes like an unconscious being. Now, this unconscious baby that arrives on planet Earth, so it's in a little baby body where it's very dependent on its parents for its well-being until it grows up. So we go from a dependent state into an independent state, but that independent state doesn't happen until we're sort of teenagers, and for some people it's sort of into your 20s. Now, the challenge with that is that when we are in this dependent state, everything we see and take on, particularly when we're very small, we believe to be true. And how would it be that whatever we believe to be true creates what I call, or some people describe as, our model of life, our model of the world, how things work, yeah? Now, the trouble is, or the challenge is, that this model becomes, it sort of takes us over. And hold on a minute, we came here on a mission. And by forgetting the mission and then being sort of programmed, we could call it, to run thinking patterns, emotional patterns, and then behavioural patterns, all of that is what en masse humans are doing without realising they're doing it. Now, over here in this sort of 4%, they often describe the 96% of remaining sort of what, we use the terminology of being asleep sometimes. Asleep to the fact that they came with a mission and a purpose to planet Earth. Now, by being asleep and then being programmed, what happens is we become out of control of our thinking, our emotional behaviours, and then that the emotions, lead us to our behavioural patterns. Now, let's be honest, if you popped your hand up and said, right, have I got any of these in my body? Do I ever have worry or anxiety in my body? Do I ever have frustration or anger in my body? Because these are very common negative emotionalities, which we run as patterns of basically thinking creates the emotion, that comes to the surface. And the challenge with the asleep people is that they then react. They just react externally mostly to those emotions, to try and shake those emotions off, which were primarily either learnt in their childhood, well, mostly learnt in their childhood. Some people believe that in past lives, and maybe we brought some of that stuff with us too. So whatever you believe is all good. The challenge is that they're 96% are basically unaware or unconscious of the fact that this asleepness has meant that they've lost their mission and their purpose for coming to planet Earth in this and taking on this body in the first place. So what do we need to do to in fact move us and for those that want to, those that get a sense of this? That's what normally happens. There's a sense of the asleep people starting to wake up. Some of them start to wake up and realise or remember that, hold on a minute, I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm here for a reason. And this starts to, open up. And maybe that's happened to you. If it has happened to you and suddenly become aware that, hold on, I'm doing all this stuff. I live in the material world. I'm trying to get money, and I'm in this pattern, my patterns of behaviour that actually are not helping the planet at all. And I got a sense that I was here to help, not to destroy or ruin the situation. So what needs to happen is something quite remarkable, because what's interesting about the asleep people is, in effect, the reason that they can't remember, I understand that as we come down through the dimensions and take our physicality and then get programmed as a child, it's easy for us to forget. But to start to remember, one big thing has to happen. So I'd love it see if I can encourage you to see if you can discover this part of yourself. Certainly if you're going, look, I think there's more to life than this, and I can see planet Earth struggling. The other day I'm asking people, so if you had to score planet Earth on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being, do you know what, it's all fine, it's doing amazing, we don't need to worry about anything. And 0 is, hey, whoa, this planet is in serious trouble of, collapsing, all the ecosystems are collapsing on themselves one way or the other. What score would you give it? Feel free to put that in the box below, just a number. What do you believe? Now, if it were true that you did come with a mission to help it be more of a 10, but actually what we're doing is we're assisting it, albeit in our own tiny way, but our own tiny way is like nearly 8 billion people on the planet right now, most of them doing it their own tiny way that is taking from planet Earth instead of giving to planet Earth. So what can we do? If there was one thing, and in number one, in Planet Earth 1 and Saving Planet Earth 1 and Saving Planet Earth 2, I gave you some tips and tricks about what you could do to contribute and perhaps become one of that 6%. But today my message is this, that if you are one of these people that is either asleep or beginning to wake up to the fact that you came with a mission, the trick in remembering your mission is to, what I call, switch yourself on, switch yourself back on. Because what happens in the remembering is we get this sort of block. We have this switch that connects us back to whence we came. And from whence we came in the universe, this is where all knowledge and all wisdom basically, it's said, exists. And when we're switched off, when we're unconscious, when we're asleep, we cut ourselves off from that. So what this 4% are doing, that the 96% are not doing, is they've got their switch switched on, and these people have got their switch switched off. So what we have to do, if we are wanting to be in that 6%, is we need to learn what needs to happen for us to turn our switch on. And if we can learn how to do that, then magic and miracles will start to happen for us, of course, individually, but most importantly, it starts to happen collectively to all humans once we hit this sort of critical mass of 10% of people turning their switch on. So if you want to be in that 10% that turns their switch on instead of having it switched off, what we need to do is to become aware of that. And there are various things that you can do to learn and practice. And one of the key things that we need to do is we need to start healing our negative emotionality. So for example, if this negative emotionality, so say something happens outside of you and you're either get anxious or, for example, just get angry. Let's say one or the other. Maybe you do both. Maybe there's about 350 negative emotions that the asleep people actually run that actually are keeping us collectively in a sort of darker, stuck energy because too many people are switched off. So learning to what, you could use the word heal yourself. Learning to heal this negative emotion, because if this negative emotion wasn't present in your body, if you could let that go and be free from that. What basically happens as you let that go is you become more aware of your mission and purpose on planet Earth. And it's like magic, your switch goes on and you become like a completely different person. Now, this started to happen for me some 20 odd years ago. And look, you're always a work in progress. You know, when you start, you go, okay, maybe there is a switch. I didn't know about this switch, now I'm beginning to find out about that switch. And maybe you just turn it on for a millisecond and it goes back off again. But bit by bit by bit, you start to realise the magic that happens. And the magic that truly happens if you can turn this switch on is you start to live a more 10 out of 10 life experience, which is why we call this the 10-10 movement. The more people that can live and move towards living a 10 out of 10 experience, then we're very likely to turn away from hitting that brick wall that we're destined to hit unless enough people do it. So what needs to happen is when we turn this switch on, what you'll notice happens is your whole inner world changes. It changes from running negative emotionality to just being, you know, obviously we could use the word positive, but you become more at peace with yourself. When I help people turn the switch on, even if it's only for the first time and they've never done it before, they turn it on and they use words like, I feel lighter, I feel calmer, I feel more at peace, I feel a sense of love inside. Everyone says the same. So this place is inside of us, but we need to wake up to this place that's inside of us. And look, let's face it, all of the avatars spoke about finding the love inside of ourselves. And the love inside of ourselves, the heart center, is the place that emanates with love. But instead of the people that are more asleep, they're trying to get love from outside of themselves. They're trying to get people to love them, whether it be their kids, their parents, their partners, we're trying to get love. Whereas the people that are more woken up have this massive realization that you have this center of love inside of yourself. And once you manage to connect that, it's like, you connect it and it sort of connects your heart and the center of your brain together. And that is like the switch. And magically, this stuff happens. It's almost like this part of you connects to the universe. The feet are connected to planet Earth, and suddenly there's some magic happens inside of you, and all of your life starts to change. It starts to be easy. It starts to be effortless. You don't need to worry about all sorts of factors. Like over here, of course, we're stuck in the material and the economic, treadmill, so to speak, where we have to constantly get money to pay our way. And if we're not getting enough money, that feels like that's really hard work, and it takes more of our focus and more of our energy. And even if we get a lot of money, we then start to look after that money. How we start to hoard it, or it's difficult. So I'm not making it wrong. It's where the human race has led itself, and there's lots of learnings in all of this. But as we detach ourselves from that, all of this is part of the flow of the universe. So when we're over here, it flows towards us easily. There's no trying, there's no effort. It happens miraculously. Everything you need is going to be present for you. Now, I know that's hard to hear when you're over here, and it's really, really difficult. But that's why looking at the more challenging it is over here, the more emotional you're likely to be. So it's working on these emotions, healing these emotions, that suddenly we find that switch and everything starts to change. So really, that's my message from today. If this is the first time to the channel, then a huge hugging welcome to you. And if you are new, please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get more notices of the videos that are coming. As I say, feel free always to share these videos if you feel that's been useful to you and your friends or family or work colleagues that you think, wow, I've never heard the message said like that. This guy seems to know what he's talking about. Let's share that with my friends. That would be very appreciated as well. And really, that's it. From me, Tony V, on the 10-10 movement. I'll be back next week with Saving Planet Earth 4. Bye for now.